Hey, I'm Renee Haraney. This is a Peoria professional show, and I'm wondering, do you know anybody that's had trouble conceiving? I know several people, and today we have an expert on natural fertility, and her name is Jennifer Lindsey. She is a health coach, and she's going to share her own story, but also her new passion, which they're both passions, but she is starting a holistic chamber of commerce in the Peoria area, and I think that's fascinating. So we're going to hear all about it. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Fabulous. Thank
Good.
you.
Awesome. Okay, so I've heard your story, and I think it's amazing. And before we get into your personal story, what is a holistic chamber of commerce?
Well, the Holistic Chamber of Commerce is an international organization. They're in the United States and Canada, and they were created to bring together all the holistic businesses within regions so that together they could support one another, educate the community, and come together to just educate the public and to learn from each other about how to best thrive in the marketplace as a holistic business, because it's relatively new, especially in this area, for people to be really looking toward what can I do naturally to support my health and thrive.
Right. I know there's a lot of businesses in this area that would be very interested in what you're doing with that. I also think that there's a lot of people that would be more interested in these businesses if they knew where to find them.
Yes.
Right. And also, you may be too far removed from it to know where I'm coming from, but I still think there's a lot of people who don't know the difference, don't even know what holistic really means. You know, maybe they kind of think of all natural and organic and holistic as being the same thing, but there's a difference, right?
There is, yes. And not only that, but holistic, the 6 tenets of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce include the typical 3, mind, body, and spirit, but it also encompasses business, budget, and planet.
Oh.
So it is really about the entire being. And as a health coach, I utilize a tool called the Wheel of Life. A lot of coaches do, because not only do you have your physical health and your mental health, your spiritual health, but you also have your financial health and your relational health. So there's a lot of different pieces of that holistic pie. And most holistic businesses are really focused in one area or another, and the chamber is there to unite all the many businesses together, so that we can really be one unified resource for anyone that's looking to balance an area of their life that's a little off, that needs a little help.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I had no idea about that. You know, you mentioned like relationships. Anybody who's been through a divorce is not going to be healthy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's our physical health is the foundation of everything. If we don't have our physical health, what do we have, right? It's the very beginning of everything. But if you're going through a divorce, or you have trouble with, a teenager, or you're having trouble with a job, where you spend 40 or so hours a week, or, any of those relationships, whether they be in the home or outside of the home, if they're creating stress, it affects everything. And so to have, this idea that things are all, kind of coming together, and those resources can be found in one place, that's brilliant. That's really awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
It really is. The founder, Camille Leon, she's out in California, and of course, right, because they are a little more progressive in the holistic community out there. But she's really driven to help bring together the holistic community, because even within the holistic community, I know that they're very heart-centered businesses. That's one of the reasons I'm here, because I love to help people to thrive. So most of us have chosen these businesses not to make $1 million, right?
What?
Right?
Definitely. Yeah.
We're here because we know the value of the service that we provide to someone else.
Right.
And how it can really help them live into the truest version of what they were born to do in this life, who they were born to be. So her vision of bringing the Holistic Chamber is really to unite everyone. For instance, I know in the holistic community there's sometimes discord between, I'll take chiropractic for example. There's different methodologies. There's different schools of thought in chiropractic. And as a holistic chamber, I welcome all chiropractors. It does not matter to me what type of chiropractic you practice. What matters to me is that you're heart-centered and you're here to help people. And I want to unify the communities to lift each other up, and the purpose of the chamber then is to come together and figure out how do we reach our ideal clients, how do we best market to them, what are some implications for tax purposes or legal issues, how do we support each other on the business side of things. There's no judgment on what your business is. Some holistic practices are, a little more woo-woo than others. Right. Functional medicine practitioners are they're very well respected even in the medical industry, where energy practitioners, some of them are a little apprehensive about being more visible because they're afraid of judgment.
Oh, I can see that.
And so the Holistic Chamber welcomes everyone, to bring together everyone, because we see the value in all of it. And we know the public will benefit.
And they can learn so much more, that will just help their own clients when they understand these other people in the same realm, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's amazing. What are your plans as far as like kicking this off?
Yes.
It's soon, right?
Absolutely, yes. Our first meet and greet, it's going to be very informal. There will be a structure to the meeting, but it's going to be August 17th, which is Thursday, third Thursday. That's what I magically chose out of my calendar to be acceptable for me. So I'm hoping other people will be available that night. So August 17th, we're going to be holding it at Sugar, the Wood-Fired Bistro. So you can find that event on Eventbrite. I have it listed there. I also have it listed on our Peoria Holistic Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, which is newly created. Yep. So you can go to that one on www.facebook.com/HCC Peoria.
Great. And I will put a link, to
Wonderful.
all those in the description of this video too.
Perfect.
So, yeah. Okay. So that's great. So who might, for our viewers who are watching who don't necessarily have a holistic practice or business of their own, what type of businesses are you looking to invite so that they can share it with their friends?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking for the typical holistic businesses, so chiropractors, massage therapists, yoga practitioners, functional medicine practitioners, of course. I know there's a couple pharmacists in the area that are very holistic minded, and if you know of anyone, we're even looking to attract people who are living the holistic lifestyle. Their business might not be exactly holistic centered. For example, like realtors or insurance agents or financial advisors. People that are living the holistic lifestyle, and therefore when they do their daily business, they can cater to another who has a holistic lifestyle because they have that same whole pie mindset where, if a person comes to a realtor and says, I like to meditate, I want a house near a nice park. Or,
oh, wow. Yeah.
something
You really
like
thought
that.
this through, didn't you?
I have. I've thought about this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Love that. So let's talk now a little bit about your personal story, how it is that you came to the point in life where you're a health coach and you are starting the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. So tell us your story.
Wow. Well, I used to have the nickname of Recycling Queen.
Okay.
When you had to take both ends off the tin can, take off the label, smash it flat, way back. And it was always a passion of mine to save the whales, save the planet. And when I became a single mom, I went into engineering. So my daughter was 2 months old when I went back to school, and or maybe 4 months. She was young. Anyway.
Yeah. You were still tired.
I was very tired. And I decided to become an engineer because I was a sole breadwinner and I needed to do something stable. And so I went into engineering, and it really, it was great at first, but after 8 years, my life, my soul was really out of alignment, and I knew it. But I didn't really know any other way. I didn't see any other options at that point. But my husband and I talked a lot when we became pregnant with our twins, and I decided to quit that and got back into the watching documentaries on food and learning about all these marvelous doctors and the magic that they're doing in the world, reversing disease, diabetes, heart disease, with food and lifestyle choices, mindfulness. And it's just fascinating. And so as an engineer, I'm digging in, researching, and decided through some prompting of friends to make a career out of it, but not interested in full-time career, just something to supplement income, still be at home with my family, which is a huge priority for me. So I did really looked at the different options for education, and I looked for mentors in the area, and I couldn't find any. I was really looking for people who were out on their own as entrepreneurs, doing holistic health as a part-time business, and I just had to trust my own instincts, and I chose a school that focused on habit change because I knew what I should be eating. I knew how often I should be moving my body, and I wasn't doing it. I'm a relatively intelligent person, I think, and I was still not able to get my act together. So the school I chose was the Health Coach Institute, which focused on habit change, and I am so blessed by that community. They have live events every 6 months, and when I stepped into that room for the first time, it was in Vegas, and I felt home. And I never felt that peace, that unity with an enormous amount of people, 800 people in a room, and so that tribe feeling then is what unifies me and brings me back to the Chamber of Commerce. I want to create that feeling here in the Peoria area. But for my own journey in engineering, we struggled with infertility. And as two engineers and working full time, I was under a lot of stress. We were eating out 3 times a day. And it was just our way of life. We didn't really know anything different. It was what fit into our time and budget with 2 engineering incomes. But I didn't realize the stresses, mental, emotional, physical, that I was putting on my body. I didn't realize that until after I'd quit my job and become a health coach, how powerful the mind, the body is, and how it wants to heal. But you have to allow that to happen. So as an engineer working a lot of hours, day and night, stressing my body out. We went through 9 years of infertility. We went through a lot of failed in vitro attempts, a miscarriage in my second trimester that he was naturally conceived, and that was prior to our journey into the hormone injections and all of that. So
it was painful too, right? The injections and everything.
yes. I had to give myself the stomach injections. What are they called? The little needle. It's kind of like an insulin shot. So I had to do that with blood thinners for myself, and my husband had to give me the intramuscular injections. And
I'm squirming just thinking about it.
right. That needle's much bigger, much longer, and it hurts a lot. And the itching that it causes after the fact, and the lumps. And I'm pumping my body with hormones that my body's not producing. And not only am I doing that, but it wasn't working. No matter what I did to my body's like, not happening. So
yeah, a little stubborn.
Well, it's wise. You know, it would not have been healthy for me at that point in time to conceive, and my body knew that.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I don't think that we think of it that way. You know, as women, there's just something in our minds. It's like time to be a mama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, it's all up there. You know what I mean?
It
I'm
is.
ready.
It's all up there, but your body wisdom knows what your physical body, your mental capability is.
Right.
And you know, the stress that I was putting on my body, it's the fight or flight. You know, when so many of us as Americans especially are under chronic stress all the time, even if it's low level chronic stress. You know, we get aggravated in traffic, we get aggravated like relational issues. We get aggravated ourselves. You know, there's so many thoughts that run through our brain every single day. You know, I've heard 70,000, I've heard 120,000. Doesn't matter how many there are. There's way more than you can control.
Oh, for sure. Think about social media and how, you know, we have an emotional response to everything we see. If it's political and we agree, that's one thing. If it's political and we disagree, then there's a whole other, you know what I mean? Or jealousy. We see, you know, oh, they have this going on. Great. Oh, look, they're on vacation, you know, or whatever the case. I just think that we spend so much time on social media, and every post is going to have some sort of emotional response. I mean, shoot, I teach people to do
right? Yes. The thing is, the people that are most able to be on social media and not be affected by that emotional charge that other people are putting off, are the people that have consciously improved the charge of those emotions, the people that are putting positive charges into their thoughts, that are either meditating, yoga, whatever it might be.
It takes work to control your thoughts.
It does, but once you get to a point where you are comfortable regularly putting in an attitude of gratefulness about life, about where you are, about your present state, that's when it starts running over into those unconscious thoughts that are running in the background all the time.
Right. Yeah. So the idea, because this is something I've personally battled with, is controlling my thoughts, you know, because the longer you live, the more years you have before you get control over it, of having these thoughts that are not helping you, they're actually hurting you.
Absolutely.
Right. So whether it's thoughts about, the food that I eat, and how I feel about, I don't like vegetables, right? Or I don't eat fruit, or pizza's okay, or, you know, fast food fits into my schedule. You know, like whatever those thoughts are, when you want to change it, you have to change your thoughts about it. Right. Because if you don't change your thoughts about it, you can't change those habits that you mentioned.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the school, we're taught that, you know, there's behavior change. That's the first outer layer of the onion, right? behind that is the beliefs about yourself, about your environment, who you're with, the world around you.
Right.
And it's those beliefs that really impact your behaviors. What you believe about the world is how you interact with the world, and that is mirrored back, reflected back at you to reinforce those beliefs. So in the transformational coaching that I'm doing now with the school is really digging into identity, which is even deeper. So it's where do those beliefs come from, and helping people to reframe or shift the identity piece that sparked off those beliefs that might have that were helpful at the time.
Can you give us an example of what you mean by that? Like, how is it that, so a couple comes to you and they've been trying for 2 years to conceive their first child, we'll say, and they're frustrated, and so then you start talking about their beliefs, right? So they're going to have different beliefs between the two of them, right? She's going to have a set of beliefs. He's going to have a completely different set of beliefs. Like, what does that look like? Just if you could just make up a
when a couple comes first to me, we don't start there, because first we have to establish a relationship where they're comfortable getting into that, because we have our critter brain, and until we're really comfortable in a relationship, we don't open up, right?
Right.
So we would first work on the nutritional aspects. What's supporting their fertility, or what's damaging, potentially harming their chances, and movement and balancing hormones, things like that. We start at that outer level, that outer layer in the behavior, and then once we get into that and start looking at beliefs, some of those beliefs might be. They grew up saying, I'm not ever going to have children. Children are way too much of a bother. Maybe they heard that from their parents. Children are such a hassle. And that goes into their subconscious, and they live with that. And it's one of those messages, one of those thousands of messages that plays. Children are a hassle. And so we look at where may they have a belief in the past that doesn't support their current goals, and so it could be any number of, maybe he wants children to facilitate his line, his lineage,
right.
Carry on the family name, and maybe the woman isn't quite on board yet. Maybe she's at a transition in her career and is a little apprehensive. Maybe they're both on board and they've been trying, but there's something in there, and we just dig in and we talk. We have a conversation, and the questions just kind of bring out where things might be hidden in there that they didn't recognize before.
Right. Oh, there's so much I want to talk about off camera. Yeah, those thoughts. I mean, I just think that whole concept is so fascinating because, like with the habits, the longer you have these recurring thoughts, like the more they just make who you are almost.
They create your reality. They really do.
Yeah.
Our thoughts create our reality.
So whether it's, the thoughts about, I don't want to be a parent, or because I'm even imagining that in that situation, let's say that one of them doesn't want to be a parent, but then they get married and their spouse, is like, I just really always imagined being a parent, and they love them and they're like, okay, well, maybe I should. And so they think that they're, what's that word I'm looking for? But they think that they're,
maybe unified in their mission.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They say it, but there's these thoughts in the back of their mind that, I never really wanted that for myself, and I probably wouldn't be a great parent, and my parents divorced, and
right.
Yeah, I can see how the mind is so tricky.
Yeah, as an engineer, I always thought the process of fertility and conception was transactional.
Right.
It
scientific.
Was just one of those things that, yes, it just happens. It's a cycle, and it all just But it doesn't always. It's actually quite miraculous, and there's so many more players inside our bodies than we realize, from our microbiome to the thoughts in our brain. And, it's not only what's on the end of our fork, but what's on the tip of our tongue. So
yeah. So do address the fork thing for a second here. Like, how much is that playing into how you're coaching people in fertility?
It is important because there are foods that are very damaging, processed foods. Sugar is very harmful to regular ovulation. And our society is addicted. It's in everything. There's 40 some names for sugar. And so when you pick up a processed box, there can be like 7 sources of sugar that are hidden in the sciencey verbiage, right? And people don't know it. So educating them on that is important. It is very important. But maybe 20% really. Teaching people how to eat, which sounds odd, but slowing down, becoming present. And it is what's on the end of that fork, but it's also how you process that emotionally, how you process that physically, how you process it mentally, how aware you are of the color of that lettuce or that piece of chicken or whatever it might be, savoring the bite and appreciating the farmer that sacrificed time with his family to bring that to your plate.
That's not something many of us think about when we sit down.
No.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, I think we could talk about this all day.
I could.
It's such a fascinating topic, and you are obviously very educated and experienced with this topic. And I know that your own personal story is actually quite emotional, which didn't really completely explore that. But, and I know that, our viewers, they all know somebody, whether they've been through it themselves or they have a family member or close friend who's been through it. But my hope is that, people can just share this with others so that they can learn more about you and learn about the holistic Chamber of Commerce that you are starting up. I think that is really cool.
Yes.
Very cool. I think that anytime, as a business person, the challenges are always continuing on until we're successful. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's so easy to give up. But if you have connections with other people that are doing something relatable to what you're doing, then it's going to be, it really increases the chances of each person being more successful. Yes. And the more successful an individual business is, the more people that means they are helping. And the more people they help, the better for the community, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thanks again for being my guest here. And thank you for watching. Really appreciate you staying with us this whole time and sharing this with the people that you care about. And we'll see you next week.
PeoriaLife.com